Hey there, Grateful Gang. It's a Thursday night, our weekly Thursday nights, which I love so much. Welcome to Gratefully Living the Chronic Life. My name is Lauren, and I am the host, which you probably could guess from me talking. Also the founder of the Facebook group Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain, and the website gratitudeaddict.com. We have been doing this. This is actually episode number 36. We started kind of around when the pandemic started because I wanted another way to reach people with some of my ideas and to get, this is an interactive show, which I love. And I think that's why so many people like it too. If you put comments out there, questions, tips, ideas that you have, I try to get them on the screen. And I like having kind of a more than that, a two-way conversation with people, because I certainly don't know all the answers. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, but I am, I say this all the time, but I am a student of the human experience. Ooh, forgot to put my earbuds in. I don't know if that made a difference or not. But I am a student of the human experience, and I started this whole journey back 8 years ago when I was fortunate enough to be a patient at an inpatient chronic pain program for 30 days. And that's really when I started on this life of mine, going from victim to victor, like we're going to be talking about today. My passion is working on the group, writing about this topic. Our topics generally, because I personally know chronic pain and illness and the emotional debilitation that comes along with it, but they really suit anybody who struggles. I can look at every topic just about for the last 36 weeks, and you can tell that that it affects a lot of people, no matter what your struggles. And I don't know a single person on this earth that does not struggle. So welcome. If it's your first time, glad to have you here with us. If it's your first time and you're watching me from in the group Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain, you need to grant StreamYard permission to use your name and likeness if you're going to ask a question and want it on the screen. Otherwise, it comes up as Facebook user if you want. But if you're outside of the group, you shouldn't have to do that. It's just because we're a closed group. So let's see here. I got all fancy schmancy this week. My website is gratitudeaddict.com, and you can find out about all of the group and the broadcast and all that on the website. Our grateful community that I've just been talking about, Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain, is on Facebook, and we would love to have you. We've got about 5,500 and change members now, and they come into the group knowing that complaining is not allowed. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. It's not that by any means that I feel like complaining is bad, just the opposite. But the way our group works is to try something different. We focus on living in the solution or looking for the solution and not stewing in the problem. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. For previous episodes, you can subscribe on YouTube at Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. And all the previous episodes are on there, as well as some meditations by others, not by me. Other things that can help us out along our journey. So again, I want to thank you all for being here. I'm going to do this. Usually I advertise the next couple of shows at the end of the broadcast, but in case anybody needs to leave early, I really wanted to get this out. We've got a really exciting couple of weeks coming up. Next week we have, Dr. Evan Parks, who's going to be talking about the topic, rethinking stress, how to bend and not break under pressure. He is, if you're in the group or even on the Gratitude Addict Facebook page, he is the guy who wrote, see if I can find it. He wrote that article at the beginning of January about gratitude and chronic pain. Did I put it up here? Yes, I did. Hang on. Excuse me. Here we go. 5 surprising ways gratitude improves your health. Oh, where is it? Oh, man. So it was on Psychology Today at the beginning of January. I'm not sure why it stopped sharing. But anyway, it's 5 page unresponsive. That's why. Okay. You'll have to trust me. I did have it queued up. Oh, there it is. Can you see that? Yes, hopefully. 5 surprising ways gratitude improves your health. How to develop gratitude and manage pain more effectively when times are hard. And here is his Facebook page, Pain Rehab Source. He's also an author, and he does a blog. The blog is called The Pain Rehab Podcast. So after I read his article in Psychology Today, I did what typical Lauren does, and I stalked him. I found him on Facebook through the Psychology Today article, and I contacted him and just let him know what it is that I do, what our group does. And he didn't know anything about our group, so it was a really nice connection, and he'll be kind enough to come to our broadcast next week to talk about, he's got some really fascinating ideas on rethinking stress. And if you live with chronic pain and illness, you know how stress affects you. So it's going to be a great, great hour. I'm having problems with these earbuds, probably because I wasn't prepared. The following 2 weeks, I've mentioned this a few weeks now, but it's official. There's a movie called This Might Hurt. I'll show you the trailer in a minute. So we're doing a special screening just for our group on February 25th. It's a Thursday, and it's going to be a screening of the movie, the film, which I've seen already, and it's fabulous, followed by a Q&A with Dr. Schubinger, who is the head of the program you'll see in the trailer. But the week prior to that, which is the 18th, I think. So next week is Dr. Evan Parks. Yes. Then the next week, Kent Bassett and Marion Cunningham, who are the filmmakers of this film, are going to join us for an hour and talk to us about the film. And then, like I said, then the following Thursday will be the actual screening of the film. Because there's a Q&A after the film, we've decided to start the whole process 2 hours earlier than usual. So the screening will be at 6 p.m., so mark your calendars, February 25th, 6 p.m., and then the Q&A will be after that. So I hope you can all join us. It really is just a fantastic film that talks a lot about things that a lot of people don't talk about. Let me see if I can get the trailer up here. And let's see if I can do this. I hope so. Share screen. All right.
Is anybody nervous? We're literally on this together because what we're here for is to get better.
Tingling to numbness, primarily in my left hand.
100 million Americans suffer from chronic pain.
This illness has taken a lot out of me, out of my family.
That's more than diabetes, heart disease, and cancer combined.
Just the worst pain that I've ever imagined in my life.
He's taking all these meds and he's no better than he was.
Millions of patients with pain have become opioid addicted.
We have this idea that when there's pain, there's something wrong with the body. It's not always that simple.
Hysterectomy, colostomy, ileostomy, but then the pain came back.
The brain is powerful and can cause almost any symptom imaginable. How does our life events affect our body? That's what we're going to go through today.
It terrifies me.
I can see that.
I would reject the notion that everybody with chronic pain has a psychological origin.
You're saying that if I fully express my anger, that's going to help me not have a headache?
Yes. Okay.
I don't expect Dr. Schubner to cure me.
We call BS. It's pretty succinct to the point.
I don't know exactly what to expect.
People have been taught to suppress emotions in general. What I'm doing in my class is helping them express rather than holding it in.
I fought my whole life.
Just tore my life apart.
I'm angry and I'm sad.
This treatment is not for everybody.
Now I'm experiencing new symptoms, and so I'm freaking out.
You're stirring things up.
My shit is so stirred up.
If you had told me a month ago that I could will my pain away, I'd have told you you were on drugs.
Cool, right? So cool. It's, you know, there's a lot to be skeptical of, and Dr. Schubinger and the filmmakers admit that this it doesn't work for all chronic pain. This theory. Excuse me, let me get that back on. It's really about the mind-body connection and past trauma in your lives, and how for many people that affects their physical pain. Not that it's in your head, but that it affects your physical pain. So it's definitely worth a watch. Again, February 25th, 6 p.m. And the week before that are the filmmakers Kent and Marion joining us. So very exciting things ahead. So basically that's the month of February gone. And got some other guests on the horizon. That's February. So let's go to some comments and see who's here. Hi, Sarah. Hello, Grateful Tears. You know, every week I go through the same problems, don't I? It's the banner. Is that better? I don't know why they're not showing up. Oh, maybe default. That's better. I think I do that every single week. It's all right. Progress, not perfection. Okay. Who else is here? Karen. Hello, Karen. Thanks for joining us. And my mom. Hey, Mom. Sandy. And my daughter, Riley. The gang's all here, minus Roar's typical, the cat. We have a Facebook user. Hi, I'm sorry I can't see who you are, but thank you for joining us. If you want to comment and you want your comments and picture on the screen, you need to sign out and sign back in and allow StreamYard permission. But if you're fine with Facebook user, that's great too. And I'm glad you're here. Oh my goodness, the fam is all here. Hey, Dad. Soupy's here. Linda Edwards. Hi, Linda. Pamela Creighton. Hi, Pamela. Seaton's here. Hello, it is Seaton. Hello, Seaton. Julia's here. Hi, everyone. Hello, Julia. Will This Might Hurt film be on your public Facebook page or just the private Facebook group? Great question. We're still working out the logistics. We need to keep it in the group for privacy reasons, so somebody doesn't record it. But anybody that's not in the group, there will probably be a way. I'm waiting to get an email back from them. But the technical answer, as far as I know it now, it's going to be in the group. But you should be able to get it. They're sending me the Eventbrite link tomorrow, so I'll find out more then. But that's a great question. Sarah, exciting upcoming guests. Yes, for sure. Wow, I want to see this. You know, like I said, Kent was kind enough to send me a screening of it, and it was a fabulous film. And I can't wait to talk to him and his director or producer, one of them. But I can't wait to talk to both of them and find out more about how they went about this process and why. I know he's a former chronic pain struggler as well. And he did some of these things and it worked for him. I know there's that much, but I don't know much more than that. Who else we got here? Oh, Brenda's here. Hello, Brenda. Maureen. Hi, Laura. Hi, Maureen. Sherry Oliver. Hi from Madison, Wisconsin. Hello, Sherry. Kathleen Prescott. Hi, I'm glad to be here. Excited to have you here. Welcome, Kathleen. Who else we got? Alexander's here, my nephew. I can't wait to see all these cool new guests you have lined up. Me too. and I'll get all prepared like I was for today, and we'll have a million technological issues, but I think that adds to my charm, don't you, Alexander? Heidi Presser, am I showing up as Facebook user? Yes, you're showing up as Facebook user. So if you're okay with that, I'm fine with it. If not, you can log out and log back in. So we'll stop with the comments there. And so today's topic, being a victor and not a victim. I want to clarify something before we get really any further in this. The tips and ideas that I'm going to share with you today are not in any way to undermine being a victim. You know, abuse happens all over the world, all kinds of places and ways, and that is very real. There's nothing at all we can do about becoming a victim. It's the mindset that we can carry on with it. Sometimes you can get stuck in that victim mentality. That's really the victim and victor I'm going to be talking about today. I would never dream of telling anybody that they are not a victim. That is not what we're talking about. So I wanted to clarify that. And I also wanted to remind everybody, I'm not a doctor or a therapist. I'm self-taught, but well-researched for sure. So when I went to Silver Hill Hospital and was in the chronic pain and recovery inpatient program there for a month, I had my first Chronic Pain Anonymous meeting. And now I'm on the board of the organization, but our very first one, I had never even heard of it. And we had it there one of the nights of my first week. And the gentleman who was running it, he was so happy-go-lucky. He's lovely. He was wonderful. Great for those of us who are new and bawling our eyes out, that entire first and maybe second meeting. And I couldn't help but think that he must not be as bad as I am. And we've talked about comparison a lot here before. Now that I'm 8 years into my recovery and living with chronic pain and illness, I know different, because I've worked really, really hard to ensure that I do whatever I'm in control of to give me a happy, fulfilling, and wholehearted life. And that's going to be some of the things we're talking about today. As I was actually doing my research and going down the list of tips that I have, I was realizing that it's pretty much every single thing that we do in Attitude of Gratitude with chronic pain. So you can just end the episode now because it's like everything we do there. No, but seriously, and we've done topics on many of them as well. Wrong one. Okay. So a lot of the things we're going to talk about today, I would love to hear your feedback on. I'm also going to put out a question just right here in the beginning. It's going to last for the entire show. And it is, I want to know, what things have you done to lose a victim mentality? Also, some of us don't have a victim mentality. Maybe we used to, maybe we never did, but pretty sure that you know of somebody in your life who does. And so a lot of the tips we're talking about tonight are to help you live with the victims in your life who just can't drop the victim mentality. It was super interesting doing this research. In working on my book, which I have for the past however many years, the one topic I have found the most fascinating, and the one with really such little answers to that I can find, is why do we complain? Why? There's not a lot of information and research out there on that, but I'm finding some interesting things. I find it fascinating. Before I go any further, I forgot I had some... do I have it? Is it sharing? I have some quotes I wanted to share before I forget them. Really good quotes. You will see as soon as I get there. Promise. Here we go. This is from Eckhart Tolle. When you complain, you make yourself a victim. Leave the situation, change the situation, or accept it. All else is madness. I love that. Oop, didn't mean to go there. Hi, Evan. This is from one of my favorite quotes of all time by Viktor Frankl. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. He's not a neurologist, I forget his title, but brilliant man, also happens to be a Holocaust survivor. And his quotes on getting by in life are just so inspiring. They would be even if he weren't a Holocaust survivor. But knowing that he is a Holocaust survivor, to me, gives it even more meaning. And here's from my fave, Maya Angelou. If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. Don't complain. This one's kind of funny. Complaining is like vomiting. You might feel better after you get it out, but you make everyone around you sick. I had to stick that one in there. And then this one I love too, by John W. Gardner. Self-pity is easily the most destructive of the non-pharmaceutical narcotics. It is addictive, gives momentary pleasure, and separates the victim from reality. Boom. I could have gone, there's so many good ones. I could have gone on much longer, but I wanted to talk to you guys and hear what you have to say about complaining. Let me go to some questions before I delve too fast in there, because a lot of times I'll wait too long to answer the questions and then I'll lose what they were responding to. Let's see. Diana's here. Hi, Diana. Glad you could join us. Jill Cook, we are badasses. Oh, yes, we are, my friend. Queens and kings of badassery is what we are. Facebook user, tell people what I need from them. Oh, okay, this is an answer to my question. You see, this is why I don't get too far behind. My question is, how did you lose the victim mentality? You tell people what I need from them, and HP, which stands for higher power. Talking about your higher power. Great, great comment. Thank you. And Karen, glad you love that. So why do we complain? And let's add this out as a bonus question as well. Why do you think we complain? Some research suggests that it's to get attention, sympathy, and that's more of a fascinating question to me than the complaining really is. Why do we sometimes crave sympathy? You know, in our group, as I mentioned before, we do not talk about our specific conditions or complain, because we used to look at the glass half full. We know we're sick. We know we're all in a tremendous amount of pain. We're just going to put that out there and say, done with it. Tell me what we can do to make our situation better. Some things you can't do anything, but other things like what we do in the group, you can. So gratitude addict, or attitude of gratitude with chronic pain, pretty much what the Facebook name says it is. We maintain an attitude of gratitude with chronic pain. However, twice a week on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. and Wednesday afternoons at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we offer something called Flush the Format. And that's a live chat. It goes on at least an hour. It's supposed to go on an hour, but many of us stay longer. And that is a place you can talk about anything you want. You need to get things off of your chest. Talk about a really lousy doctor appointment. It's so important for us to be able to vent to others, especially others who understand what we're going through. It's not healthy at all to keep this stuff inside of ourselves. So our group is not about forgetting what's bad. It's really just trying to focus on what isn't bad, what's good. And we all do that together, and it works beautifully. We'd love to have you become a member if you're not already. Let's see. So, Campbell, what are your opinions on venting versus complaining? Get out. I did not see this before I just started talking about that. Sometimes I find it helpful to talk out my feelings, even though it seems like I am complaining, but I am just trying to vent. I don't think really there's any difference between venting and complaining, Campbell, to be honest with you. I think I tend to use the word venting more often because to me complaining has become a bad word, but it's not. Both of them are the same thing in my eyes. And if I would look for any of you people out there watching, tell me what you think the difference is between complaining and venting, if there is one. I don't know. I think where it gets into big trouble is when all we do is complain. That's what gets us into that victim mindset. And it's just not healthy. You know, like I said in the beginning of the episode, we are all victims of something, victims of getting sick or injured, of some kind of abuse, emotional, physical, spiritual. Everybody's got some kind of victimization in their background. Many of us struggle with it for the rest of our lives. Emotional pain, PTSD, it's so common in people with chronic pain to have those things as well, which is why this film, I encourage you guys to watch the film in a couple of weeks because it talks a lot about that. I think we always need to complain, but I view it as a problem when we get stuck there, you know, and if it's not you personally, Campbell, but maybe it's somebody you know in your life and all they do is complain. And I think most of us probably know that when we do that, we tend to lose people in our lives. Some people just seem to, I don't know, kind of thrive on maybe the attention that they get. Look, every single one of us has a reason to complain, more than one reason. And like I said, I believe that you need to get that stuff out. It's when you just live in it, when you ruminate in that pain. And, you know, people get People get bad luck. People have bad luck. Bad things happen to everybody. But, you know, there's some people where the bad things just seem to keep coming one after the other. Not just a couple, because that can happen to anybody, but, you know, lose your job, car runs out of gas, lost all your friends, your family's not calling, things like that. That's when you kind of have to start looking at maybe taking ownership of if we have a part in it. And I think that's where complaining incessantly is an issue. It was for me. And I vow that I won't do that again. I will vent or complain and flush the format to my husband, the kids, my good friends. You need that. You know, just glossing over it and saying I'm grateful for everything. It doesn't work. That's not what our group is about. You need to get that stuff out or it's not healthy. I don't know if I answered your question, Campbell, but that was a really great question. Thank you. Jill Cook, I look around and I remember Maslow's hierarchy and remember how blessed I am. Jill, will you remind us of what that is? I feel like you and I talked about this just the other day and I've forgotten already. I would love if you could share what that is. Oh gosh, I should know this because I swear, did we not just talk about this the other day? My apologies, but if you can write it down, I will certainly read that. Julia says, every test in our life makes us bitter or better. I'm smiling because I almost picked this quote and didn't, so I'm glad you're bringing it up. You're always good for that, Julie. It's like you're in my brain. You're one step ahead of me. Let me read that again. Every test in our life makes us bitter or better. Every problem comes to make or break us. Choice is ours whether we become victim or victor. Excellent quote. Thank you. And Jill says, saying things out loud can take away some of its power. Flush the Format is an awesome resource. Thank you, Jill. Karen, when you complain It just continually brings you down. Yes, it does. And I don't like that mentality of always being down. Me neither. And you're absolutely right. You know, when we start complaining, it can be an addiction, like that one quote said, it can be an addiction. And when we start to really live or stew in our victim mentality, it gives birth to more. It really does. Not only does it bring us down, but bringing us down also brings down our self-confidence, our self-compassion, all of those things that could possibly be triggers for some of the reasons why you have a lot to complain about. Again, please, I'll say this a million times before the episode is over. Please know that I would never dream of telling anybody they couldn't complain. Well, except on the page, but come to flush the format, because that's not healthy. And we do have a lot to complain about. Those of us with chronic pain and illness, we have a lot to complain about. You know, even those who struggle with other things that maybe aren't necessarily chronic pain and illness. You know, becoming a victim is nobody's choice. Nobody would choose that. We didn't ask for it. It came. It's not our fault. Those things are out of our control. And that's part of the reason, one of the reasons why I found that we complain. But it's when we continually just live there and we won't get ourselves out. You know, people that live, with the victim mentality, the people that you know who are like that, you can offer them suggestions or solutions to every single one of their problems. Hey, did you look into X? Did you read Y? You know, things like that. And most of the time, they will kind of brush it off or not think about it. And that can be for a few reasons. You know, one is you've been burned by so many times trying things that you're just sick of it all and don't want to go there again. And that's understandable. I've been there. I am there quite frequently. But even though I've accepted where I'm at, and acceptance is such an important part of this too, which I talk about every week, I think, doesn't mean I have to like it, and doesn't mean I'll ever stop having hope or, you know, trying new things. But again, back to my whole point of this was when you know somebody who's just stuck in that victim mode, you could offer them a million suggestions and they'll never take one. And that's because they kind of thrive on it for whatever reason, the attention, the sympathy. I don't think they realize how they sound when it's coming out. And like that one quote said, it's like vomit. It feels good getting it out, but makes everybody sick around you. It really does. You know, I don't know if you've ever lost friends because of their constant complaining, or maybe you used to constantly complain and you lost friends that way. But it's just not fun to be around those people, you know. And like I said, you know, luckily if you have some good friends in your life that you can complain to on occasion, you know, you can do that. But it's just, you know, same complaints over and over and over. You have to look, and there's an exercise in one of Tony Bernhard's books I'm going to talk about in a minute. But yeah, those are the ones that maybe you want to distance yourself from if you can, because it's toxic for you. Or perhaps we can look inside ourselves and decide if we are doing that, because that's something we can control. Speaking of which, I found this exercise in this book, How to Live Well with Chronic Pain and Illness by Tony Bernhard, she's a member of our group and was a guest on the show a few times. She looks at chronic pain and illness through a Buddhist outlook. So there's a lot of the things we talk about every week, such as mindfulness and things like that. But she's got a chapter in the book called Complaining is a Recipe for Suffering. I won't read the whole thing, but she says, for the chronically ill, there's lots to complain about. Ongoing pleasant symptoms, the loss of the ability to do things, friends gone missing, unresponsive doctors, uncertainty about the future. The list is long. In my experience, however, complaining is rarely productive, and it's almost always a recipe for further suffering and dissatisfaction. I just wanted to touch on the word suffering. I say this all the time, but in case anybody's new, I will never, if I can help it, I will never again say that I'm suffering with chronic pain and illness. I'll struggle. I'm struggling today. But I won't say suffer, because suffering is a response you have to your pain. Now, it can be, easier said than done to do this. If you're in excruciating pain, it would be tough to argue that you're not suffering. But on a general scale, we do have control over the amount that we suffer. And that's what this victim-victor stuff that we're talking about today talks about, is how to, side title could be how to be a chronic thriver instead of just a chronic survivor, instead of just making do and getting by. How can I live a happier, fulfilling, and wholehearted life? I want to live my best life possible, because my reality is I live with whatever, XYZ, for me, chronic pain and illness, which contributes to emotional debilitation with chronic pain and illness. So all these little tips and tricks that I've picked up along my research, my time at Silver Hill, through Chronic Pain Anonymous meetings, things like that, are things that I write down because I forget things a lot, and research because I find it kind of fascinating, not only helpful for me because I try to learn from it, or I'll take what does work and leave the, whatever doesn't, I'll put aside. But, that's my favorite part about the group, is that we share together what tips work for us. Actually, I have a whole list I was going to get to. Oh my goodness, 10 or 8:38. That's all right, we'll make it. So I won't go over the entire exercise from Tony's book, but what she asks us to do, and you can do this on your own time, is make up a list, and nobody's going to look at it but you. I'm trapped in my earbuds. Make a list of all the things you have to complain about. And maybe not even all of them. Maybe just, give yourself 10 things to complain about. And don't think much more than just write it down on paper. And then she has us breaking that list into 3 parts. The things that you have no control over, the things that you might have some control over, and the things that you have complete control over. And when you look at that list, and you can decide what you feel you have control over and what you don't. But she says complaining about the things that we have no control over is pointless. It's like a poison to us, because there's nothing we can say or do that will change the situation. So that's where acceptance comes in, and just accepting this is what it is. I can't do anything about it. What can I do to change my attitude? There are very few things, as she notes on that list, that you have complete control over, especially living with any of our struggles. What you have control over basically consists of your response or your attitude to the situation. That can be tough too. So it's interesting to look at the things we can't control over and really kind of single out those things that we have no control over. I live with lupus and fibromyalgia. I would love if there's a cure someday. I would love if the pain stopped. Right now, I don't. So I'm just going to assume for now that this is my reality. And it is right now. So that's what I care about, is what my reality is at this moment. How do I want to live this life? Do I want to poison myself by constantly complaining? No, I don't. I want to figure out how I can live like this, with this pain and all the things that come along with it, and live my best life, because I want to live a good life. I lived a long, long time. I've been sick for over 20 years. I lived a long, long time kind of obsessing about my illness, constantly looking for cures, treatments, remedies, doctors and other doctors and other doctors, medications, things like that. And it's a very important part of our journey. And I think we should, I'll speak for myself. I will never stop doing that. But I made it kind of my entire existence was on the internet looking for things, because you get it in the back of your mind that, gosh, this theory, this tip is helping somebody. Maybe it can help me too. And gosh, if it does, that's incredible. But I feel like for me, there's a line that I can't cross. I will not obsess over it any longer. I still keep up to date with, latest studies and things like that. But I think of the years I wasted, probably about 4 years, I'd say, where I wasn't much of a mother to my kids. I wasn't much of a wife to my husband. I wasn't much of a person to myself at all. And I just kind of dropped off the face of the earth. Then an alcohol problem came into the picture, but I think that's because I wasn't talking to anybody. And I've been sober 8 years now, which I'm very proud of. So I was obsessing about things that I really had no control over. Let's see where we leave off. Pamela Creighton. I feel people complain as a form of empathy and or a way of bonding. I also feel complaining can be a way to seek compassion and love. Agreed. Absolutely agree with that. And that's what Flush the Format is wonderful for, especially if you don't have others in your life who you can do that with. Also, just to clarify that, I think complaining is very, very important. You need to get it out. It's not healthy to keep it in. It's when you just can't get out of that mode and it goes on and it's your entire life. I think that maybe at least I had to go through and look at the way I was living and not complaining. Sherry Oliver, how do I find the group where we can vent share? Sherry, you're in the group, I believe, yes. Every Tuesday and Wednesday, we put up reminders. I'll put it in the group, but it's called Flush the Format. If you Google at the top of the group, go under topics, Flush the Format. It's on Zoom, and you can, all the login instructions are there twice a week, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time and Wednesdays, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Run by the lovely Linda Edwards. And we talk about adding more days in because they're just so important and so lovely, especially with the family that we form in the group. Good question. Flush the Format. Let's see where we leave off. Okay. Julia, life isn't fair. No matter what life throws your way, no matter how unfair it may seem, refuse to play the victim. Refuse to be ruled by fear, pessimism, and negativity. Refuse to quit. Be a warrior and work through whatever life throws your way with courage, love, and positivity, and continually push forward. Sorry, it's small. Because you are a survivor of the unfairness of life. You are stronger than you think. Absolutely. And you are capable of achieving far more than you believe. Absolutely. If I ever get to my tips on how to rid ourselves of that, you'll see some of those in there. Thank you, Julia. Pamela Creighton. I think oops, did I just read that one? Nope. I think venting can be a way to process our thoughts outside of our heads, giving our thoughts a voice, and perhaps seeking, sorry, my eyes are bugging out, seeking an opinion or some compassion. Yep. Whereas to me, complaining is not necessarily looking for a solution or release. Okay, that's on the question, Campbell's question, venting versus complaining. That's a great way that's really puts things into perspective. And let me try reading it again because I know it's breaking up. I think venting can be a way to process our thoughts outside of our heads, giving our thoughts a voice and perhaps seeking an opinion or some compassion. Whereas to me, complaining is not necessarily looking for a solution or a release. That's a great point. I hadn't thought of that. Not necessarily looking for a solution or release. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Thank you. That's a really good way to think about it, because I will totally say that I vent in various places. But complaining, yeah, they're maybe the perpetual victims, that the ones that don't want a solution, but just, enjoy the attention or whatever that it gives you. Jill Cook says writing is cathartic for me. Yes, journaling is one of my tips too. Kathleen Prescott, complaining keeps me stuck in my pain story. I feel better when I turn away from the abuse, recreating. Sorry, it's not your quote. I don't know, my eyes are bugging out. Such good quotes. Let me read this again. Complaining keeps me stuck in my pain story. I feel better when I turn away from the abuse you're recreating, and help someone else. I first got mad at my parts being involved. It's freeing to forgive. Well, there's like 7 of my tips in that too. Thank you, Kathleen. Let me get to these tips before I go any further, at least some of them. Let's see. Okay, so this is kind of a no-brainer. We've been talking about this. To rid yourself of being the forever victim or being stuck. I mean, you can totally get stuck in that victim mentality. To stop complaining, because it really is poison to our system. It, like you said, Kathleen, it recreates the situation over and over and over. I read a quote somewhere, and I don't think I wrote it down, but it was something about, what was it about? It was about how when you're in that victim mentality, it gives birth to more ways to be victimized, but that's not even what I was going to say. Something about complaining. I'm sure it was brilliant, whatever I was going to say. Maybe I'll think of it in a minute. Practice self-compassion. And I think somebody mentioned this earlier, but it's a good point. Well, no, I better say what's in my head. Self-compassion can be tough for a lot of people, maybe most people, I don't know. A lot of times we don't think we are worth the good things that are happening in our lives. I said in the group that we looking for the things that don't hurt or that aren't bad in our lives versus the things that are. That to me is an exercise of self-compassion, and it's such an important part of our journey. Anybody who struggles with anything, to be nice to yourself. I think I mention this every week too, but being kind to yourself, treating yourself as if you would treat, a child, a loved one, a best friend. We deserve that. And a lot of times we don't feel like we're worthy of these things. If you live with chronic pain and illness, you cannot help what happened to you. And even if you had a small part in it, it doesn't matter. You can't control that it's chronic and it goes on. No control over it. That doesn't mean I don't still complain about this pain I live with, but in general, I don't stew in there. But I'm working really, really hard this year on self-compassion and love. There was a question in the group the other day about say who your Valentine is this year or something. And I picked myself. No offense, Rob. I picked myself because I thought I could use a little more loving from myself and practicing self-compassion. So that's a really important part of that. And And doing these exercises that we've already talked about and still have yet to talk about, if we get to them, like practice gratitude. Of course, I would put this one in there because I'm a gratitude addict. But in all of the research I've done, and it's been a lot on this topic, I want to say every single article gave tips to practice gratitude. And they said that when you're practicing gratitude, it would be really hard to find something to complain about. Not in general, but at that moment. And so in the group, we list our daily gratitude every day, if you choose to participate, every day in the afternoon. And so because you can't say negative things in the group, unless you're at our live chats, some days it can be hard to come up with something to be grateful for. But there are studies done saying that if we practice it, it is like a muscle. We can rewire our brains and actually teach ourselves how to look at life through the lens of gratitude. It really works. So maybe if you're just feeling lousy, you can write in your journal, like Jill said, or somewhere else. Write things that you're grateful for. Write things down that don't hurt. Some days that can be rough. Write things that are going well in your life. There's something else I found fascinating in the things going well in our lives. One of the doctors I quoted from I read about from his abstract, talked about why many reasons why we complain. But one of the big reasons he claims is because when we don't like things that are going on in our lives, and there's going to be a lot of those things, we don't like the fact that we have no control over it for the most part. So we distance ourselves from that by complaining, which is a really, really interesting concept to me, and I think absolutely true. We don't complain as much about the things we have control over, although in making your list, I bet you find that there isn't a lot you have control over. Mine, there wasn't, but my attitude, I do, and that's what I try to work on. Celebrate what you can do instead of focusing what you can't. Stop blaming others or other circumstances. This can be an easy way. It can be an easy way out, an easy thing to do, because we're not in control of what happens, and we want to distance ourselves. We try to put the blame on others or on, here, example, that stupid doctor didn't give me my referral on time. And look, some of these are true. I'm just trying to think of examples. There are some things that we just have no control over, but then other things we do, which is what that list helps with. But in looking at that list, I would add a third thing probably and ask how many of those things were actually controlled by others or circumstances. Many of them were, I'm sure. But I bet you'll find that you're putting blame on things, and maybe you had a part to doing it. Maybe you don't. I'm not at all claiming that we all have a part in our being a victim. Like I keep saying, it's more that I think we can get out of that victim mode sooner than we do sometimes. Try to look at things as a learning experience. This sounds so Pollyanna, doesn't it? Bad thing happens, I run out of gas. Try to look at it like a learning experience. Great advice, Lauren. But it is. Maybe not at the immediate moment when you run out of gas, but perhaps later on you'll realize that, I shouldn't have trusted the gas gauge when it said I had 35 miles left in that. So next time I won't do it. I'll do 40 when I have 40 gallons left or something like that. And that's a very trite example. But I try to look at things as a learning experience. And it's not always easy. I'm sure you can all relate to that. It is not always easy to look at things as a learning experience, especially at that time. But maybe afterwards, maybe there's a lesson you can take from it. Maybe there isn't. Create intentions for the day. That is something we do every morning in Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. For those who choose to participate, we set intentions, and I think I did an entire episode on intentions. It's a loose roadmap written in pencil for our day. What this does is it gives us sort of a guide, not goals, because when we don't meet goals, we can get resentments against ourselves, but loose goals or a roadmap for your day, making a plan. By doing that, it does focus on the things that we believe we can do. And maybe in 5 minutes, the pain gets too bad and you can't, but that's okay. It was just an intention. It's a lot more helpful to do something like that than to, just throw up your arms and say, well, I'm in this kind of pain anyway, so what's the point? I'll just, do nothing. There's a lot of things we can't do because of our circumstances and our pain. But there's a lot of things that you can. So intentions are really helpful, and you can write those in your journal too. Intentions. Know that you are worthy of good things. I had started delving into this a few minutes ago and I completely lost track. Know that you are worthy of good things. One of the other things that abstract was talking about was a lot of times we complain as like foreseeing the future, because maybe things are going kind of good right now. Say my pain is really good today. I don't necessarily want to say, I feel great today. I do try to now, but in general, it's tough to say these things out loud for fear of, jinxing it or always waiting for that other shoe to drop. Celebrate the good stuff. Every day in the group, we also, I list the national days that we have to celebrate each day, and there's always, a few wacky ones. Today's National Thank Your Mail Carrier Day, and Optimism Day, or something like that. So it gives us a reason to, look at what we can celebrate. And I would argue that you can celebrate that you've been given the gift of another day. That may sound Pollyanna too, but I do believe that. Let me get on to some more comments before I get too far behind again. Jill Cook, food, shelter, clothing. That's the theory you were telling us about before, right? Yes, you say this all the time to me, how I forgot that. I don't know, but it's true. You can look at basics like food, shelter, and clothing, clean air to breathe, to be grateful for, clean water to drink and bathe ourselves in. There are things to be grateful for. Some days you may have a lot that comes into your mind. Sometimes you really have to dig deep. But if you go food, shelter, clothing, you probably have a couple right there. Sarah Garrison, the approach of gratitude shifts our brain transmitters and gives us so many positive attributes versus complaints that will impact our entire life, mind, body, soul relationships everywhere we go. This is right on the money. It impacts our relationship with ourselves because we generally don't feel great by complaining. That's part of the reason why it's always fascinated me is, why do we complain? Why do we want sympathy? Because I know when I do it, and, if it's the first time on something, you really need to get it off your chest or tell somebody should know. It does feel good to get it out. But by keeping this on my list of things that are piling up, a couple of years later even, keeping on that list does nothing for me other than poison me and poison your relationships. Basic necessity, says Jill Cook. Yep. You look so pretty. Is this something nice to say to yourself? Are you telling me? Either way, I'll say thank you. But that is something that you can say in the mirror each morning too. You are so pretty. You're such a good person. You're a queen, king of badassery. I'm going to get to the affirmations in a minute. But if you're telling me I look pretty, thank you, Facebook user. I appreciate it. Facebook user, I don't know if it's the same one, but no, we see you. Yeah, I got too far behind in the comments. My apologies. I'm not sure what that's in reference to, but yeah, I don't know. But I'm sorry that I can't put two and two together there. If you want to come back and clarify, I would appreciate that. Victim mentality can be changed when we become aware, determined, and dedicated to overcome your present or past experiences. Definitely. Oh my gosh, it's after 9. How do I do this? How do I do this? I do this every week. Okay, let me get to the rest of my list really quickly. I think we basically said everything that was on my list. Practice gratitude, celebrate what you can do instead of focusing on what you can't. Stop blaming others or other circumstances, said that. Our intentions, did that. Know that you are worthy, did that. Somebody mentioned doing service earlier, but that's one that I feel very passionate about, is practicing random acts of kindness. Doesn't have to be anything huge. It can be something as small as commenting to somebody else that you really liked their post. You know, you never know when those things will deeply affect somebody on a day where they might need it. And unlike complaining, you doing that for somebody else always makes you feel good. Always. Forgive others, forgive ourselves. It can be hard to forgive others for things they've done to us. But there's a famous quote that says something like, how does it go? It's about forgiving resentments. Resentments are like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. My apologies if I got that wrong. But in not forgiving somebody, the only one that's hurting is us. So think of it that way. You're not giving a gift to anybody for the forgiveness. You're giving a gift to yourself. And that, needless to say, you should forgive yourself for whatever wrongs you feel like you've done. It's in the past. Look at it as a learning lesson and move forward. Okay. I forgot about this one. Allow yourself a pity party. Just don't make it a marathon event. We've already said this a lot tonight. The difference is, sometimes you just need to have a pity party for yourself. I do it frequently. That's okay. We do have a lot of things to complain about. I just don't want to live there anymore. Give yourself a day, an hour. I can't give it longer than a day. I just can't, for me. And it should be different for all of you. Affirmations. There's only a few more. I'll make it quick. We have a side group in AOG. It's the Affirmations Club. And Linda posts a affirmation each day. It's basically something you say to yourself. And Louise Hay has made it her career to talk about the power of affirmations and saying things like, I am in control of my destiny. I look pretty today. Things like that. And it's actually proven that they make your day better. Say them to yourself. Say them in the mirror if you can. Join our affirmations club. But you can't go wrong in doing daily affirmations. Work on the things you love to do. Your hobbies and stuff that you love and are passionate about. The more you work on those things, it's like Black Duck Moments with Bruce Singer, what he says. Those things that help you forget about your pain, even if it's briefly, they help out a lot. Finally, all right, I made it through the list. use the resources available to you and find out what helps. Practice what you want and leave the rest. I would argue that everybody here wants to do something better for themselves just by watching this episode or joining the group. But if it's not our groups or my webcast, find a group that you really like. Becoming a community with others is really important to our recovery also. What other resources are available to you? Pretty much everything we said here today, practicing gratitude, using affirmations, setting intentions. These are the things we actually do have all, or maybe just some control over. The way we respond to a situation is what we have control over. And using those things, doing mindfulness meditation, like Vidyamala Birch showed us a few weeks ago. Those are things that we do have control over. So, don't do them all at once, but maybe you can try a few at a time and see what works for you. Not one thing is going to help everybody. That's why we offer different things in the group, so you can decide what works for you. But any of these tips can help you to get through and stop getting stuck in that victim phase, or help somebody else to try to get through the victim stage if they want it. Joining our community, again, it's Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. You can find out more about me on my website and the groups, gratitudeaddict.com. And you can follow Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain on YouTube to see all of our previous episodes, or go back to topics that we've covered. I'd like to cover things that we do have some control over, because as one of the quotes said, if we don't have control over something, there's no use in complaining about it, really. It's just poisoning yourself over and over again. So thank you all for being here tonight. I apologize for going a little late. I tend to do this. I'll think, gosh, I don't know if I have enough to fill the hour. Please, I could talk your ear off all night. So you better escape while you can. Thanks to all of you. Don't forget next week, Dr. Evan Parks will be here talking about rethinking stress and how to bend and not break under pressure. We had a meeting talking about this topic, and he really does have so many awesome tips on that. So thank you for being here. We'll see you next week, next Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For those of you that are not watching live, you can catch us. It'll be in the group and on YouTube momentarily. So thanks to all of you. Those of you who participate, those of you that don't. Doesn't matter. I hope you were able to get something out of this episode. So that's it. See you next week, gang. Love you. Oh, I got a new little ending here. Hang on.